Hello and welcome to Manibil. This time I'm going to take a little stab at a video from Essentia Foundation called The Head and Heart of Essentia Foundation. And this is a, this is a bit of a weird one, right? But it's sort of a telltale sign of the woo-woo religious inclinations of this particular foundation, association, collection of people who are supposedly thinking the same way, whatever you want to call it. And you can see from the thumbnail logo or the thumbnail picture in the video here, right? The head is cool blue, right? And the heart is passionate red. And then there's this ray of light from the one source, the one eye looking down, right? On the two, it has this, if you would turn it around a bit and put it like this, right? It would be a pyramid. And if you change the bright light there to a small eye, you would have the one-eyed pyramid, right? And then the next one is these two magic leaders. And somewhere over here in the grass is you little peasant, right? I mean, give me a break, right? And the light is shining, one light is shining on one of them, and one light is shining on the other of them. And just to make sure that you understand that these are the two magic leaders, there's a red circle around them, right? And there's this sort of weird, EF logo there. It's sort of, it looks like a Morse code or something like that. I always found it kind of, the short end of the F stick, the bottom of the F is placed lower than the E, the bottom of the E, right? And it's sort of, wow, it's just lines. How smart, right? If you have logo design, this is sort of the low-hanging fruit of logo design, right? It is kind of it's kind of amateurish in my. I'm pretty interested in design and art and getting messages across, and does a logo come across to you as something somebody came up with in their cellar, during a weekend? Or is it actually some professional artistic expression of some kind? This is so basically ugly, in my opinion, that logo design, that it spells lack of artistic concern to me, right? Otherwise, why not just say EF and use some basic letters, right? But, it's like, I don't know, and the orange color doesn't come across as solid to me, right? But that's just my opinion, right? That has no bearing on this particular video or Essentia Foundation as such. It's just my particular concern. And the background here is, of course, some kind of nebula or Hubble telescope, deep space photograph, or whatever the fuck it's called, right? We are in space woo-woo land here, right? Magical, religious. You have been appointed by the big mind to go out there. We have implanted the daemon in you, and you have to save the world with your magical, right? Oh man. Oh. Okay, let's dive in and see. I haven't prepared the dimensions of the video, see how it fits this, and I hope it. I won't have to fiddle around too much, right? As you can see, I have watched the video like, 3 months ago. It must be, maybe it's closing in on 4 months, right? And and I have an idea what we are going to get, right? But I'm going to take it a stab at it anyway. And it's so far removed from what I can remember. It's almost like a fresh view. So I'll take it as a fresh viewing, right? Okay, let's jump in. And I know that there's a presentation by Hansiman, and I'll have to, let me see, this has to zoom in a bit here. Like this.
Saved. But in doing all that good, Fred started reflecting on how he did it and what it did to.
Sorry about that. It was because I wanted to show you or discuss the video thumbnail logo, right? So that's why I have to sort of fiddle about it. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can manage this. Actually, I could move it a bit this sideways here. So, okay, sorry about that. And we should be ready to go.
Until I was 12, 13, 14 years old, I wanted to play. I didn't like school. I just want to play hockey. I want to be in the street. I wanted to build huts in the forest. I always had, as a child, short pants, and the freedom of feeling the air around your knees, your legs, is fantastic. I looked at the older men, and I found that they, during winter and summer, always wore trousers. Yeah,
They wore trousers. Trousers is the Dutch English is, it's kind of funny. It sounds funny, right? I used to know a Dutch girl. It sounded so funny when she spoke English, right? But that's many years ago, right? So,
idea that I had to go into that stage was terrible. Feeling imprisoned by something that I didn't like, but it went with something very serious. Those people were talking, about houses, about land, and I thought, why do they behave like that? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't like all those rules and confinements that they created and they were about to be created around me.
okay, interesting. So you don't like rules, so you're an anarchist, right? You don't like some kind of rule that is imposed on you, right? At least not back then. So maybe, maybe it's not a good idea to impose rules on people, right? But I remember when my first deconstruction of Bernardo Kastrup's videos on analytic idealism presented on the Essentia Foundation homepage, when I had gone to my third video, the second or third video, I got a call from the lawyers from Essentia Foundation who wanted to have me, basically shot by the government if I didn't comply with them, right? So, where is the distinction between when can other people come and tell me what to do and what not to do? Right? Where is the distinction? What is it about this? We're dealing with morality here, right? Because in my opinion, nobody can boss me around. There's no philosophy, there's no amount of thinking in some other being that is basically an experience on my dashboard according to your own standards, right? That can tell me you should or shouldn't do this. Because it takes a lot of ontology, epistemology, objectivity, and ethics in order for me to decipher whether or not I'm going to treat this particular sound or smell or color as somebody who can boss me around. Right? Why don't you just listen to your own philosophy and dig out whatever you can from that, right? And maybe identify the limitations of what the hell you're trying to do, right? You're trying to, apparently, according to the standards of Bernardo Kastrup, establish a mental cloud castle where you can sit and hide and maybe attempt to boss people around. But there is no epistemology, not officially at least, right? Neither is there any clear definition of what it means to be objective or truth and knowledge, as I said, right? And there's obviously no ethics because, Bernardo Kastrup just said that in a recent video, that he's not an ethics guy, right? So if you're not an ethics guy, and it's not an ethics foundation, nobody from that foundation, at least not, particularly not the head and the heart, is going to tell me about, lecturing me about anything, right? If you can come up with some ethics that sort of solves the problem and bridges the gap of Hume's ill-thought gap, right? Then you might be able to convince me that you can fucking boss me around. Until then, shut the fuck up, man, right?
I think this life transition...
Oh, yeah. I don't want to listen to this dude here, right? But the other thing was I didn't like school. Okay, so did you have children, Mr. Matza, right? Did you put them in school? You didn't like government school, maybe, right? Maybe you didn't like private school. But how about homeschooling? Or how about unschooling, not schooling at all? Let children be free to learn whatever it is they want to learn, right? How about that? I actually like the idea of starting out with childhood, because everything grown-ups do is because of their whatever shitty childhood, right? As a comic duo, a Danish comic duo, it doesn't matter their name, but they had a statement that was something like, grown-ups are just children gone crazy, right? Something like that. I can't translate directly, right? But it's something, it's just crazy children, right? Grown-ups are crazy children. They are still children, but in a grown-up body that can actually, procreate with other human beings, right? You have almost 10 years of sexual maturity before you have mental maturity. There might be some, an issue there, right?
Brad is describing is familiar to most of us. It's the coming of age, the moment that boys start wearing trousers and girls dresses, at least 70 years ago. But what's unique in the story of Fred is that in his youth, Europe was war-torn, and his father, Bob Matzer, became one of the biggest real estate developers in the Netherlands, rebuilding the country after the war.
We were just coming out of a war, and the focus was very much on rebuilding a country which was bombarded and was very much damaged. And interestingly enough, when you look back, everybody focuses on the physical, but the wounds internally were not addressed. What was very uncomfortable for me was that beyond those emotions which you had, there was no resolution. So everything on the outside was peaceful. No conflicts, nothing like that.
Okay, so I would have to suggest, as I've done in previous videos, and this is sort of supposition by me, right? Presupposition maybe, but supposition at least, right? That, when you look at the statistics, the Netherlands received as much Marshall help as all of Western Germany. Germany was fucking bombed back to the Stone Ages, basically, right? I'm not saying that the Netherlands weren't bombed. and damaged. But they received a hell of a fucking lot of money, right? From the so-called Marshall help, which was basically the foreign minister, I think, or foreign whatever secretary of the U.S. taking money from American citizens and shoving it over to Europe, right? I mean, I'm not saying it didn't help, right? But it didn't help the fucking taxpayers in America, right? Why do they have to pay for the reestablishment of Europe, right? And all this government money that is funneled, it's always, all the vultures who say, oh my God, the government money is coming, right? And they're, aligning themselves in order to grab all this money flowing in, right? Of course, these people who are in the real estate business would get exceedingly rich by this, because government is don't care about the quality of the work done, right? They're interested in how can I, get to the next election, right? So this is this family got rich on American taxpayer money, right? And it's taxation is extortion. It's give me your fucking money or I'll shoot you, right? So it's give me your fucking money or I'll shoot you. That made some Dutch people rich, right? Of course they have moral qualms about it, right? Deep down they understand that some innocent, poor brick and mortar, person in US had to have less money in order to them to have more money, right? But it's this. They can always come and say, "Oh, but it was bombed back to the Stone Age." So what about this and what about that? That's not the fucking point, right? And people who have been lured by government money is not going to point out the immorality of taxation, because that's going to come back and bite themselves in the ass, right? So they will hide they will not be interested in getting to a moral principle, because they instinctively know that if it's a good, functional, correct moral principle, it has to point out the immorality of stealing people's money with a gun to their face, right? And then claiming that they're paying. If you make a definition of what it means to steal and what it means to pay, taxation is not a payment, right? Okay, he talks a lot about...
It was in the 50s that my father developed Parkinson. He knew that he was losing...
Let me jump a bit.
Yes, I do remember. Yeah.
Morning.
Good
Nice
to see you.
Good to see you. Welcome to the Federation.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
In 1983, Fred's connections got him in touch with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies in Geneva, Switzerland. He offered his services as a volunteer. And his offer came at exactly the right time.
Okay, so in here we have the paper file.
Paperwork, yeah.
The Federation's Secretary General wanted to launch a global program to combat child mortality due to dehydration with oral rehydration therapy. Fred became the driver of this important program called Child Alive.
Okay.
Challenge.
Well, good for him. Right? Good for him. I don't know why everything has to go through the Red Cross, because I have no big trust in the Red Cross, right? And there has been, as far as I'm concerned, a lot of sort of gray area things going on with the Red Cross, as far as I'm, it always gets corrupted, right? Whenever there's something that is sort of donations of money and, all sorts of vultures enter into the system, and then the siphon of, and at the end of the day, those who really supposed to be helped are not really that much helped, right? So I never had any real trust in all this organization. I like the idea, but the idea is not helping, right? An idea is not a help. So, okay, let me. It's kind of boring, this, right?
I can hear someone talking. Smell the coffee. Turn the page of a newspaper. On this side of the curtain, I am in a realm where the past.
Okay, so here he
grows
is
each
doing
day.
some philosophy, right? Let's take that.
Let me try a metaphor. Imagine this sensory-based.
Imagine
Okay, there it is.
sensory-based.
Let me try a metaphor. Let me start my philosophy with a metaphor, right? No, why don't you just give me your fucking philosophy? I don't want to have a metaphor and then not the real philosophy behind the metaphor, right? Then if you're only using a metaphor, which I suppose that you're doing, and you're not really getting to the actual philosophy, then I will have to decipher what the fuck kind of philosophy is actually behind the metaphor, right? But is this? But my brain thinking is so magical, that so fantastic and special. I can't explain it directly. I have to create a metaphor, because the little people, the stupid people, the peasants, they won't get it, right? So I guess I have to do it metaphorically. Well, I can't work with a metaphor, right? I'm living in a reality. I'm not living in a metaphor.
Sequential reality we all share as a room.
Oh,
with
we all share. What is that? That's an ontology. That's an appeal to an ontology. We. What's a we? What's all? What does it mean to share? And what is it we're sharing? You can't philosophize this way. You're presenting basically some kind of ontology or metaphysics here. Then you can't take something for granted when you're doing it. It's moronic, right? Just because this guy is rich and he had some qualms about philosophy and ethics and whatever, right? And wanted to help the world and whatever, doesn't mean he's good at philosophy, right? Just because you're rich doesn't mean you're smart. Or you're good at thinking, right?
curtain. Standing on one side of the curtain, I see objects I can describe with words, such as tables and chairs. I can hear someone talking, smell the coffee, turn the page of a newspaper. On this side of the curtain, I am in a realm where the past grows each day and the future shortens. Still metaphorically speaking, what happened to me after my surprising alternative treatment was this. While I closed my eyes, I found myself on the other side of the curtain. A holistic, infinite experience emerged. There,
Now I'm going into myself in my woo-woo guru. I am I'm putting on my tinfoil hat, right? Something like that. It's, I can pass through the curtain to the other side. I have been on the other side. I'm coming back to tell you, right? Oh, it's the same old mystic bullshit, right? I have been on the other side. One evening, nobody was near me, then I passed to the other side in my mind, through my mind, and transcendental. Fuck off, man, right?
I could not see.
You can claim anything you want, right? When you sit there in your mental epicycles, you can basically come up with whatever bullshit story. I can't decipher whether this is bullshit or you actually have some experience. And being an experience or an abstraction in my ontology, create what I just presented yesterday, right? It's also an abstraction within your mind. If mind is an encompassing term for all that goes on that you have access to. You can refer to anything other than it being some kind of abstraction, at least, some kind of imagination, something that you create, that you think is some kind of representation, maybe of something else. But that's something else then you do not have access to, because that which you're referring to is your own representation or imagination. So there is no going past any curtains or any on the other side of experiences and so on, right? Just because you want to doesn't mean there is, right?
Anything as such. When I turned around and looked back, I...
Turn around? What is that? Turn around? There is no direction to your experience, right? That's why, in general, we are dealing with the idea of infinity, because there is no limitation to your experience in a spatial manner. So there is no behind or ahead or something like that in any other way than in relation to some other object in your experience, qua Einstein's relativity, right? That's why we are talking relative. We are not talking absolute. You can't get out of this fucking experience, man, right?
I expected to see the curtain, but I could not see anything. I experienced a superb feeling of flow and non-resistance.
Oh, yes. I was floating in my little... Fuck off, man. And we have to have all the woo-woo spacey music and all the, what are these called, right? It's all spacey. It's all woo-woo shit. You're being manipulated, right? They might have had some funny, they ate some, mushrooms of some kind and had some weird experiences. I don't know. But this is manipulative, right? It's sort of making a psychedelic experience that puts you potentially into a kind of mental mood or pokes at what you want, your fantasies or whatever, right? So it's more likely you're going to eat this because you're already halfway there in your sort of woo-woo mentality, if you are sort of in that mentality already, right?
I had never felt more welcome anywhere. All dualities faded. There was nothing, and there was everything at the same time. There was...
It always happens when I was alone and I had an insight. I met the angels and God and I saw everything. That's the one thing that is one and everything, and right? It's a mental fantasy of some kind, right? And this is sort of a surefire sign that this guy is leaving reality, right? Because reality is apparently too hurtful or too cumbersome or too uncontrollable, right? Basically, to me, this is the same as entering into Middle-earth, right? It's a fantasy. It's a safe space. It's where I want to go, where I can, where things can be the way I want them to be. And not here where I can't know if that guy is going to turn around and kill me, or this car is going to drive through my house, or there's all this uncertainty there is in the real world, so to say, right? The real empirical, observable, understandable, interpretable and rationalization ready world, right? I'm not saying there's a world out there. That's not what I'm talking about. But that everyday experience of putting on your trousers and finding, a fresh towel when you're going to bath, and making sure you have toothpaste and all that, right? It's not you have to go and go groceries, and you have to do this for 85 years until you put 6 feet under, right? The everyday life, I think, to most people are just sort of boring repetition of some kind, right? Let me find a mental fairy tale land I can go into, and when I am there, I can explain everything, and then I can come back and say, fuck you all. You just have to obey orders, right?
No space, nor time. There was no I. My intellect was silenced.
I missed that one with the I. Let me have that again.
Statement was this. While I closed my eyes, I found myself on the other side of the curtain. A holistic, infinite experience emerged. There,
How do you know it's holistic? Holistic means that it's everything, right? At least to the best of my understanding. A whole infinite experience. That's a fucking claim, right? It emerged. It came out of nowhere. After that, oh man, right? Take your fucking woo-woo bullshit and shove it up your ass, right? To be quite frank, right? I'm not buying it. This has been, these woo-woo people have been poisoning good philosophy for millennia, man, right? The most notable of them is probably Plato, right? I'm sick and tired of this. This is the Plato's cave. I was wandering out into the light, the one light. And now I'm going to come back to you and tell you how everything has to work. I'm writing the Republic. You have to obey fucking orders, right? And you have to breed with this person, and you have to be ruled by this person. Fuck you, asshole, right?
I could not see anything as such. When I turned around and looked back, I expected to see...
Okay, so he was apparently moving in some particular direction, right? He was moving towards the light. That's going out of the cave, so to say, right? This is just mushroom talk. He's living in a fairy tale. This is just conjure up, right? It's the only gatekeeping for this shit is you. You have to gatekeep yourself and censor yourself to avoid being lured into this shit, right? If they can convince enough people about this, well, then they have momentum. They have, what's it called? When you are on the other side of the hill, so to say, things are running downhill, right? The mass of I forget what it's called.
The curtain, but I could not see anything. I experienced a superb feeling of flow and non-resistance. I had never felt more welcome anywhere. All duality.
Oh yes, when I go into my cloud castles, it's like I am in heaven. Everybody loves me, and I love everybody, and there's no taxation. Only the poor people pays, right? And I'm floating in sort of my fantasy realm where everything is like I want it to be, right? Oh, damn, I have to go back to reality now. Oh, when I look back, I couldn't see the curtain.
Realities faded. There was nothing.
This looks like the one eye, right? There's no difference between this. What's it called? It's called something. I can't remember the shit anymore, right? It's not a panorama. It's called diorama. It's called what the fuck is it called, right? This looks like an eye. This is Sauron, right? This is Sauron looking at you. Why? I mean, it's more feminine in its expression, right? Oh, nice patterns, right? It's just abstraction. It's pure abstraction, right? And there are no cows or anything like that, or cars or stupid shit the peasants want, right? No, it's pure abstraction where I can live, right?
And there was everything at the same time. There was no...
And what is that? What is everything? My morning dump, was it always also there? Everything, my morning dump was there. Were you floating around in my morning dump or what? I just want to understand, right? Because it sounds so fancy. It's like, ugh. And I want to bring it all down to reality, right? Because that's where fucking I'm living, right? That is also the problem of, I think that, I would, any day, as I've said before, any day, I would take a physicalist over an idealist, right? Idealists, they go crazy, mental in this shit, right? While materialists, though they have a bad metaphysics, at least they are bound by what they can directly experience, right? Then they're actually putting some limitations on what they can do. The idealist, on the other hand, right? They literally go mental in all their weird abstractions, right? Go into their cloud castle, safe space, and say, I've been and seen the light now coming back into the cave, and all these peasants, right? They're too stupid to understand my big thing, right?
Space nor time. There was no I.
There was no space and no time. Okay, this is the old. It was beyond space and time, and in a galaxy far, far away, right? Oh man, right? It's the same shit, right? It's the same gullible bullshit. To paraphrase Bernardo Kastrup, right? You always hear from these woo-woo people. It's the same, I'm going to manipulation, right? It's not rigid philosophy. It's not presenting a strict ontology that actually refers to your direct experience, which supposedly is what he's dealing with. At least he's trying to poke at my direct experience using all this bullshit graphics, right? It's sort of he's trying to, give me vertigo or whatever, right?
My intellect was silenced. It was beyond feelings.
My intellect was silenced. What? I can't think now. I can't put two and two together in my cloud castle. Maybe that's the whole. You don't have to think for yourself. There's something there who will think for you, right? The big mind is taking over.
It was sheer beingness.
Oh my God.
At some point during this experience, the thought, why me, arose. This immediate...
Why you? Because you're fucking crazy, right? Maybe you should take your medicine, right? There's no circumventing, there's no getting behind the curtain, so to say, to stay with your analogy there, right? You have to face the consequences of your actions. There is no back door where you can leave and get somewhere else to avoid consequences. The only way to do it is to appeal to government and hide under the skirt of government and say, protect me against these peasants over there. They want to take some of my money, right? Protect me, government, right? There's a guy over there who has more than 300 views, subs on YouTube. He's criticizing my perfect philosophy. Government, go and kill him. Shut him up, right? Yes, so I can get back in my cloud castle, right?
Immediately disrupted the experience and brought me back to this side of the curtain, the finite realm. Only much later did I come to realize that the why...
But he's sitting there in his extremely nice kitchen, right? Looks like he has some very nice designer, cutlery and, nice chairs and big room, right? It's not like my little pathetic kitchen, right? This is a big place. This is a rich dude, right? But I have to go into my safe space, right? I don't want people to take my monies. I'll create some foundations where I can hide my monies.
Me question is the kind of sabotage that's inherent to the ego. Objectively, the experience lasted perhaps 15 seconds. However, it has been more impactful than my whole life up until that moment.
Oh, yes. Let me look at the neck of an elderly man, right?
That state of being is
Oh, I'm
the best.
so thoughtful, right? I have time to walk around in the Alps, in the open, fresh air, not like the stupid peasants who have to work in chemistry, right? Or the little children who has to dig out cobalt from the mines in India, right? I can sit here, I have all the money in the world, right? I'm so smart. And I can virtue signal by creating foundations that are going to help the world. And I will save some taxpayer money, right? I just need some stupid little useful idiot who think he's, God's gift to the world, right? With some daddy issues and some, Jesus syndrome. I need to find a dude like that, and then I can create my Essentia Foundation, right?
Best I've ever had. Words are unable to express the experience. What I learned there is there are two different ways of presence. There's what I later call the lateral presence, the world in which we all live with now 7 billion people.
What is all? Well, how do you get to this all? We all live in? Don't lump me into your fucking philosophy. Speak for yourself, right? Do some serious ontology instead of this mystic bullshit, right? This feel-good bullshit. Okay, I want to get past until, his little bitch arrives. Oh, wow. What's that? What's that? I'm sure that's a Volkswagen, right? That's a German car. That's a Volkswagen. That's a very nice car. I think it's a Passat. Was it Passat? Well, I don't know what. Passat? This is a good car, right? These cars cost somewhere around 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, depending on the model, I think, right? These are very good cars. Used, these cost at least 15,000 to 20,000 euros used, right? Somewhere, I think it's somewhere in that ballpark, right? Maybe even more, right? Depending on how well it's kept. These are nice cars, and I'm reminded that this little woo-woo dude who's arriving here has said that, well, where does the car end and the rest of the world begin, right? There is no real car. The car, the engine needs the air, and the wheels need the ground, and the whole universe is the car, so there isn't really any car. But apparently he can find a fucking car, right? And supposedly it's the same car he uses all the time. How can he find this car while at the same time trying to confuse my understanding of concepts? Because concept, according to my ontology, is a very important aspect that he apparently wants to get rid of, because it sort of is a hurdle between his so-called dashboard and his abstractions. He wants to get into abstractions as fast as humanly possible, right? So getting rid of the understanding of concepts is very important. Therefore, he tries to confuse you that a car doesn't really exist. If I take off the wheel, is it no longer a car, right? Things like that. But apparently, he can keep a very nice car, right? And he must be very rich. At least he's in the better half of the segment of human beings, right? with a very nice car. I would like to have a nice car like that. Not my old beat up, used shitty car, right? These rich people. Oh, daddy. Oh, daddy. My mind, daddy. Right? Oh.
The hug you just saw symbolizes the start of the Essentia Foundation.
Oh, the hug. Oh. The woo-woo hug, right? The mental instability hug, right? This is the start of he just came driving up my driveway, and then I hugged him, and then Essentia appeared, right? Oh, it's like this creation story. That is also religious and woo-woo. I mean, how much woo-woo do you need before you understand this is mental woo-woo shit, right?
It's Fred Matzer's big heart and Bernardo's bright.
Oh, I thought it was his big house. I mean, his big heart, right? It's not his big house. It's a big heart. Oh, it's like a giraffe. All of his insides is basically one big beating heart. The red, passionate, loving heart. And then the brainy dude arrives who's going to be my philosophy writing daemon. He's going to write more than 10 books about my fantastic curtain philosophy, right?
Mind coming together. Now, as Bernardo and Fred usually like to chat in Dutch, we will now change languages and give you subtitles. En zoals je zult horen, kan Bernardo prima Nederlands spreken.
Oh, het was in een taxi in Los Angeles.
Dank u wel. De Amsterdam, Groningen, Den Haag. Ja, who cares?
Ja, wanneer was het? 2000?
En we gingen naar het congres Sages and Scientists om een praatje te houden.
It's interesting. I'm from Denmark, right? Or from Denmark. I am in that tax farm that is usually referred to as Denmark, right? And so I'm apparently from that. So, but you know what I mean, right? The funny thing is that Dutch sounds to me like a mix of German, English, and Danish. It's incredible that there's some words that are basically the same in Danish as in Dutch. But I can also hear very clear German things and very clear English aspects of the language, it seems to me, right? So it's a very strange, but at the same time very charming language, I would say, right, to me.
Van Deepak Chopra.
Ja.
En dat weet ik nog goed. We zaten in de taxi. Jij zat voorin, ik zat achterin. En jij moest steeds...
They wouldn't bother speaking in English. Why would they? Because it's all about what they think. Their little club, right? They found someone as crazy as themselves, right? So now they're going to talk their own language. They don't bother. I mean, why would I want to speak a language that most of the people in the world understand? I will speak my own language, right?
Maar
omkijken.
2 uur lang. 2 uur omkijken.
Achter te kijken.
En hoorde je mij spreken. Nou, en zeg maar zelf wat je toen opmerkte.
Het ging heel snel toen wij elkaar ontmoetten.
Dat we merkten dat we eigenlijk over bewustzijn spraken. En al...
Where the hell is that translation?
Naarmate dat gesprek zich verder ontspon, merkten we hoeveer we eigenlijk op dezelfde
Do I need to put on
zaten.
Het was
the YouTube
evident, heel vroeg,
subtext?
dat wij in dezelfde wereld zaten. Dat wij vergelijkbare visies hadden. Vandaar dat dit zo interessant was. En dat ik
That's
2 uur lang
I can't see that text.
mijn nek gedraaid zat op die bank.
Fred started reading all Bernardo's books, and the two of them became friends.
Oh, so he read his book and then they became
je
friends. That's a weird argument. I read your book, so now I'm becoming your friend. Is it because he likes? I mean, the way he reads a book is not whether or not it's good thinking, but whether or not he can become friend with the author. This sounds like a weird, stupid argument to me, right? Why is it not about the actual content of the philosophy? Why do we have to create this woo-woo air of it, right? Oh, the big mind and the heart came together and created a religion of the one thing to rule them all, right?
Beschreven ziet een heel groot stuk van wat je binnen ervaart. En ja, eigenlijk dat je ook niet alleen bent. Hè? Dus langzamerhand groeit dan de overtuiging. Het is een soort kracht, dat bewustzijn, dat door de mensheid, maar door de hele schepping eigenlijk heen.
I can't show you better translation than this, apparently.
Wat viel jou het meest op aan Fred, of wat vond je het meest opvallend toen je Fred net leerde kennen?
Hoe spontaan hij dingen kon zeggen, dat voor mij de resultaat van jarenlang over alles over na te denken. Het was het resultaat van een lang, moeilijk proces. Voor hem, het was allemaal vanzelfsprekend. En voor mij, het was ook, wauw, hoe in godsnaam kan dat? Hoe kan die man zo tot zulke conclusies komen zonder moeite? Direct na onze eerste ontmoeting in die reis, we hebben elkaar in Den Bosch ontmoet. En toen zei je al, je keek naar mij en je zei, Bernardo, jouw leven gaat niet om business of technologie. De ultieme doel van jouw leven is filosofie. En uiteindelijk kom je wel vanzelf tot deze conclusie. En er was een deel van mij toen die wist...
Why the hell didn't they put translation in the video? Why are there no subtext? I'm having to use the YouTube subtext here. I didn't remember that.
Dat jij gelijk had.
And it's very hard to read. It's all gray and black. I'm sorry about that. I didn't remember this.
5 misschien.
This is just anecdotal bullshit, right? Anecdotal bullshit. The hawk. Oh, the hawk. Oh my God, sis.
Dus je hebt iets over mij gezien. Heel snel, bijna instantaan. En ook...
I'm sorry about this. I didn't expect it to be this cumbersome, right? And also much earlier than I had seen in myself.
Veel eerder dan ik zelf dat had gezien.
I'm not really, I don't fucking care about this shit, right?
Wel hoop.
Because
op dat moment, ik heb een licht gezien. Het was alsof dat stil
that was the moment I saw a light, right? There it is again. The woo-woo mysticism, right? You are being led to believe that these people have some special access to a secret realm nobody has discovered yet, but you can go there if you listen to them, and maybe you can, it's like... Of course, this woo-woo realm at some point has to be connected with a reality philosophy, or at least a starting point that has to be about your direct experience, and then very quickly jump into woo-woo land, which is exactly what you get with analytic idealism, right? Which is, I'm going to say, I'm living in a cockpit, and now I have left the cockpit, now I'm telling you what is beyond the cockpit, right? Which is beyond the curtain, in that perfect eternal where everything is at the same time and nothing and everything, and Fred Mazza is living in my morning dump, right? It's just the same old, it's the same old bullshit, mysticism, woo-woo shit, just with a slightly different label on it, right?
Het verschil tussen weten en kennen. Voor mij, de conclusies die ik heb uiteindelijk getrokken, waren de resultaat van een redeneringsproces. Dus ik denk dat ik weet conceptueel wat de aarde van de natuur is.
I can handle this YouTube, and it's also, I don't know whether or not a YouTube translation is sufficient, right? So I'm sorry about that. I have to leave it at this. Let me see if Hansi Boy here, he says something significant before we close up, right? All the patterns,
So much more
all the
beyond
magical systematic
intellect and
patterns,
thinking.
right?
Now, to wrap this story up, I think the beauty of what we are trying to do at the Essentia Foundation is to truly find the balance between heart and mind.
Okay. So, what about the hand? What about the working people, right? You could watch the old movie called Metropolis by a German director called Fritz Lang. You may have heard of it, right? It's a fantastic movie, right? If you can seek it out, I can highly recommend it. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, right? And it has, within the recent years, has been restored almost to its original full length, though with a bit of badly damaged movie, but nevertheless, right? It is an incredible movie. They are talking about the head, the hand, and the heart, right? Where the head and the hand is the capitalist and the worker, but there has to be a heart, which is usually considered the woman, right? The woman, it was Thea van Harpo who wrote the story of Metropolis, right? Which coincidentally also was the wife of the director Fritz Lang, though she went crazy in Nazism, as Fritz Lang, he's left Nazi Germany in 33, right? But they talk about the head and the hand, where the heart has to be the mediator, right? As if the head and the hand can't get together. Now, here we're only dealing with the head and the heart. What is that? Who's going to work, right? Who's going to do the hard labor, right? Well, you are, little peasant, right? You have to pay attention, as they keep saying. And they're trying to violate Hume's Isord gap by talking about you have to pay attention, right? You are the fucking worker. You are eating the bucks. You will own nothing and be happy, right? I have no patience with these fucking crazy people, right? They are so useful for psychopaths in power. Because they are spineless, little useless, crazy people who are going to have their so-called philosophy manipulated into control. These are the ring wraiths of the Lord of the Rings, right? They are going to lick the ring of power rather than try to destroy it, to liberate the little poor people who are those who are going to end up, having their heads shut up in a ditch somewhere in a trench warfare and then eaten by rats, right? Sitting 4 years on the Western Front in shit up to their knees, right? While the head and the heart are trying to figure out how this war has to, whatever, right? Fuck off.
I think it was very wise of Fred Matzer, who also arrived at idealism through introspection, through a transcendent experience he
Yes,
had.
there it was. Transcendent. As soon as you hear the word transcendent, you know it's fucking bullshit, right? Transcendent equals bullshit. I am not buying this transcendent. I am passing through the curtain to the other side, and I came back after 15 seconds, and now I'm going to tell the world that everybody has to change according to my standard. There's only one solution, and you have to pay attention, right? That's always where it ends, right?
To recognize the fact that what the world needs at this moment in time is an organization, a place where idealism is approached via analytic thinking, rigorous science, and
Yeah.
a
So
place where academia can be
yeah, there it was, right?
transformed towards a new metaphysics.
Yes. You know, academia is the welfare state's aristocracy. So we have to ensure that we, you know, solidify academia as those who rule the world, right? If kings can't be philosophers, philosophers have to be kings, right? So we have come up with a system that is only one thing that is working through us. And we have to tell you, and this guy is, you know, is a dissector of the hand and the heart, the head and the heart in Bernardo and his woo-woo friend, Fred Mazza, and we are going to rule the world. Tell you, it's not us, it's the light from the one eye up there who's telling us what to do. You just have to fucking obey your orders, right? Eat the fucking box and you'll be happy, right? So we have to have, and then it's appeal to, yeah, okay, you can use analytic thinking, right? You are not an academic. You don't have government papers, right? So you can't be the thinking one. You just have to be the working one, right? We have to keep the workers, you know, under control, right? So us thinking people, the smart people, we can go and sit in our fancy houses and in the kitchen and look behind the curtain, right? And drive around in our non-existing Volkswagen, right?
Man to lead this organization, to me, is an example of the wisdom of the heart, knowing that it has to make place, in a sense, for what is needed. Fred could have set up an organization just sharing his vision, and he has written books about his ideas, but he noticed that what the world needs is this analytic approach.
What the world needs. Well, then they get into this megalomania. I have seen the light for 15 seconds. 10 years ago, I had an experience. Maybe it was just a bad stomach, but I had an experience for 15 seconds. So now the whole world has to, conform to my ideas. Of course, hey, I had an experience for 15 seconds. You have to do as I say. God damn it, right? And I found a little gnome from Brazil who's very smart. He has a lot of head, right? He gives a lot of head. And he has daddy issues, right? And has sufficient amount of child abuse with religion. So he fits the narrative perfectly, right? And he adores me because he didn't have a daddy. I'm a substitute daddy for him, and he's going to do my bidding, right? And I'm going to force feed him my money, right? Yes, I have so much money. I can buy him any day, right?
I just find that beautiful. Hopefully, after seeing this video, you recognize that the root of the heart, introspection, meditation, transcendent experiences that can lead you to an idealist metaphysics, is absolutely complementary with an analytic approach of idealism through thinking, philosophy, science, interpreting physics. And the true beauty happens when heart and mind meet.
Oh, yes. And it's personified into two woo-woo crazy bastards like Mazza and Kastrup, right? Yes, they are personifications of the heart and the head, right? Oh my God! I have a new religion! I don't have to live in reality anymore, right?
Is the story of the Essentia Foundation. And I thought it appropriate to end this video with a famous quote by the philosopher Blaise Pascal: "The heart as its reasons, reason knows nothing of. We know the truth not only by reason, but by the heart."
Is that reasoning? Is that not, a self-refuting argument? The heart has its reasons which reasons know nothing of. That's a kind of reasoning. So he uses reasoning to appeal to no reason. Fuck off, man, right? He was also a crazy religious person, right?
Nothing of. We know the truth not only by reason.
Oh, truth? All of a sudden truth arrives, right? When you can, use the term truth, it's always like, oh my God, I have to listen now because he mentioned the word truth. And that's, the big knockdown word that, it's like, oh, right? I would like a fucking definition of truth. Nobody in this crazy organization is going to impress me with anything before they give me some fucking definitions of what they need. And at the end of the day, all these definitions, they have to be directly traceable back to the reduction base and the ontology. Nobody's going to say that consciousness is somehow behind truth, right? You can trace truth back to consciousness only if you force yourself to think that way in some kind of woo-woo mentality. It doesn't work. It's fucking crazyville, this, right?
By the heart. Thank you very much for watching.
But what's... thank you very much. You have my honest opinion here, right? Okay, that's it. A load of bullshit, right? I mean, I hope it comes across how little respect I have for this, right? If you want to come across as somebody who's fucking serious about philosophy and you create a woo-woo bullshit video that has religious and crazy, mindfuckery, transcendental connotations of all sorts. And I was walking in the woods and I had right? It's manipulative, right? They're trying to manipulate those who are easily manipulatable, can easily be manipulated by this kind of approach, right? All it's going to do to me is even, consolidate my understanding of them as a woo-woo organization, right? And it's the uncertainty of the woo-woo aspects that actually might be their best bet for how to get viewers, right? Because somebody like me, who's straight up strict about philosophy, it doesn't give you any cop-outs. It doesn't give you any woo-woo land you can go and, have your fantasies, right? It fucking keeps you anchored in reality. And that's exactly what people don't want. They want this fairy tale Middle-earth land where they can go and have their fucking unicorns, right? It's the problem of Plato's cave, that you have this idea that you can go there and get perfect insight about everything, and then you have to come back somehow and tell the rest of the people, well, I went to my safe space and it's much better there. You are stupid assholes. You need to be controlled and manipulated in order to understand my perfect understanding, right? That's where the craziness comes in. That's where they become dictators, mental dictators of some kind. And they don't care about reality. They don't care about how many people dies or how many people suffer and so on. As long as they get their fucking mental ideas implemented somehow so they can live in their mind castles. That's why it's fucking crazy. It's disrespectful to human beings, this, right? That's why I'm warning you. Okay. Have a nice day. See you in the next one.